Hola, mi gente bella. Welcome. I'm so excited to be here with you all. And I was moved, although I do not have a guest, and it is not really an astrological breakdown of what is happening. I wanted to just share a message that I've been feeling very strongly in my heart. And we're going to get to that in a minute. But first, I want to do a little, talk around the issue before I get into the issue. Um, so we're in Sun Libra. We just finished the eclipse season. So the sun is in Libra, which is about balancing social justice, balancing out our lives. We've got a crescent moon, which means that we had a new moon, right? It was the solar eclipse, new moon in Libra, bringing in more change, more balance. And now it's a crescent moon, meaning that it's growing. So if you set intentions last week, continue to tend to your projects, continue to cleanse yourself, clear your home, and continue to tend to the seeds of the ideas, the thoughts, the new habits, the things that you want to bring into life, into manifestation. Continue tending to them. Vamos a seguir cuidándolo, right? We want to take care of the things that we have planted and seeded. Because sometimes people think, well, I've set the intention, it's just going to happen. The truth is that we also have to nurture ourselves, nurture our intentions. And it is all about the actions that we take, right? We can dream the dreams. Dreams are also built on the actions that we take and the steps that we take towards building them every day. So we've got that crescent moon, we've got the sun in Libra, and I know that right now the crescent moon is in Sag. And that's what kind of inspired me to jump on because I was like, I feel like I want to talk, but there's not something like an interview or a specific astrological situation happening that I want to discuss. And I said, you know what? Let's come on and let some spirit flow. And then I checked the moon and I was like, all right, because it's in Sagittarius, Sagittarius, the truth speaker. So one of the messages that really were coming strongly through me today was that if you don't see what you're desiring or what you're wanting in your life, in the community around you, in the society around you, in your familia, in your heart, in your life, in your day-to-day life, dare to move forward anyway. What does that mean? If you have a desire for something that doesn't exist yet, tap into that part of yourself that is the visionary. Right? And we're dealing with coming out of eclipses that bring change and bring, shifts and understandings. And then we're dealing with the crescent moon in Sag, the truth speaker, the visionary, the big picture. What is the big picture for you? So I want to ask all of you to take a moment if you're listening and ask yourself where you may be complaining about something that you haven't taken any action on. Or maybe you did take an action, it didn't really work. And then you were like, F this, screw this, no más, por favor, I don't want it anymore. The thing is, if you are complaining about something, it means that something important is not happening for you. It can mean that there's some unhealed part of you. It could mean so many things. So let's take, for example, I really don't like my job. There's a lot of bochincha, there's a lot of gossip. I invite you to look for another one. I know it's not easy right now. I have a lot of friends who are looking for jobs and some of them were struggling. Some of them just got new jobs. Don't allow yourself to settle for something because you feel overwhelmed, right? So the whole theme and thrust and flow of this conversation today is about allowing your dreams to carry you and guide you into aligned action. Now, if you're falling in love with somebody and you're like, oh, I want them in my life, I want them in my life, and they really don't want to be with you, then no, don't go do brujeria on them. Don't buy a little statue or a little thing or sew a little thing and spray some little powders and be like, they love me. I'm not talking about that type of change or that type of action. Obviously. I am talking about the ones that we can control and the things that are actually in alignment for us. So I will say that because I spent so much time in spiritual spaces as a young person, as I got older, I wanted something that reflected what I am. And like what I am growing up with some espiritismo, some santeria, some curanderismo, I really wanted a circle or a space that was open to that. Fast forward 90s, no, the 2000s, no, it was a lot of new age stuff. And, people had their heart in the right place. But again, we can take our addictions, our power plays, and place them into many different structures, whether it's religion or spirituality. And so what I realized con tiempo that I was always Catholic in terms of the part of connecting to saints and the part of connecting to La Virgen Maria, the Virgin Mary, that part. But then I was also somebody, we didn't use the word curanderismo, but we were doing limpias, saumedios, cleansing the house. I was praying to my saint, San Martin de Porres, the first Black saint. I don't know, I think there's another one now, but that's the one that I know from Peru. And because he helped me through an illness when I was younger, my parents dedicated me to him in Peru. And so he was always at my night table. And so as a young person who was raised in Catholicism, but y algo más and something else, obviously the witch is in, la brujita está aquí. I knew that I needed a circle that was open to my own diverse spiritual backgrounds, to my own diversity, whether it was like Spanish brujeria and then Latino wisdom and then indigenous wisdom, and then also maybe a little Italian magia over there, Eloquio, Malocchio, and cleansing that, or whether it was a little South American, Catholicism our way, I needed that. And because I didn't find it exactly what I was looking for, I just told two friends back in, I think, 1999. And I was like, girls, let's do this. And it was just three of us. And then it was five, and then it was eight. And it was in an apartment, my friend's apartment downstairs in my building in Queens, right? She's Colombian. And we kept just bringing in all these diverse women. And I think for, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years, it was free. Everybody brought food. We got into circle. And then as the years went on, I think I charged like $11, $15. That's about it to get candles and stuff. Maybe $10, $11. And then 10, 20 people would come. But that would be the energy because, right, I'm buying the stuff, I'm cleansing the people, or my friend would cleanse the people. Then I'm guiding the journey. And I was also training in hypnosis and Reiki in my 20s and then going into, my 30s with that wisdom already in that practice and spending time sitting in Sweat Lodge with my teachers and learning about all the things that I love. And so that circle, had I not said, hey, let's do this, it would not have happened, right? It would not have happened. And then there were times in my life where I was like, oh, I don't like this. I am good at my job, but I want something else. And a reader had told me when I was 25 or 26, while she looked at my natal chart, an astrology reader, an astrologer, she's like, you're going to work from home someday and you're going to work in the spirituality and creative field. And I was like, no, I'm an outgoing person. Are you kidding me? I need to be in office talking to people, la, 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 la. But that was just my Gemini rising, my Mercury and my moon in Gemini and my fire signs and the earth, they were all like, no, we need to talk. We need to communicate. Lo and behold, though, as the years passed, and I was a visionary and I was a pioneer getting online in 2012, right? One of the first Latinas to get online that I knew of. I didn't really know them. I knew some marketers and some coaches that were online and teaching classes through conference calls. So I didn't know exactly what I was going to be. All I knew that I was taking my priestessness, my brujaness, my spiritualness online. And so I taught on conference calls. And by the way, this is not a, hey, everybody, look at how innovative I am type of session. It's more like, I hope that as I share stories with you, that you see yourself reflected, because almost every immigrant or first generation, second generation, Latino or BIPOC, or really anyone who's come from another place, which is all of us, have had to be innovative, have had to be creative, have had to be resilient, and had to be resourceful. And what winds up happening as we get more and more colonized and we get more used to what we think is stable, right? Like, I'm a Taurus, okay? So even though I'm a sun in Taurus, I was like, I need my job, I mean a job. And by the way, I was alone since I was 21. So I know a lot of Latinas who got to go to master's programs in school because they were still living at home, and I'm really happy for you. Or they were able to take out a million loans and do all that, or through work. I was on my own since I was 21, right? And so I always had to figure out, well, how am I going to do what I have to do and take care of myself and figure it out and go back to school and get my trainings. So I had to be really resourceful. And that's all of us. All of us who come from other places have had to be resourceful. Our ancestors were resourceful. But what winds up happening over time, as we have these jobs, right, that pay us every week or every 2 weeks and have the healthcare, et cetera, which we all should have, we start getting used to, working for the man or the woman, or whatever we want to call it. Because I really believe that we work for ourselves, by the way. Even when I worked for other people, I saw it as working for myself all the time. So I didn't have that energy or that anger, because I was like, well, I need to make my money, so I'm working for me. even if somebody else signs my checks. I worked it. Nobody's giving it to me. But as time went on and I realized like I didn't have like what a lot of people have, the ability to like really figure out a career and all that. I worked what I had to work to make the money, which is a lot of office jobs and corporate jobs. And even I worked in the nightclub as a code checker, and I hired all the code checkers, and we all made beaucoup money back in the day, right? I was able to go back to school and finish. Every time I wasn't happy about something, I was never satisfied by just complaining. Complaining just makes us bitter. Complaining, I think is anchored in other wounds that we may have that we haven't worked on. And for me, what gives me power and gives me strength is taking action, to do research, to figure out what I can do. And let me tell you, when I finally did create my business, I was already in service. I was in service for like over a decade consistently, right? And then I charged a little bit and then I was teaching. And I mean, I've been doing what I do, hypnosis, like, I don't know, 26 years, 27 years. I got trained 27 years ago. And then I kept getting trained. I'm always taking classes, always certified, always training. And then something hit me. The regular job world wasn't loving me, even though I got promoted and I got assistance and things happened and people wanted, and they had a vision for me for my career. When I came back to New York after leaving Telemundo, because I thought I was getting married, I wound up over the years getting like laid off 3 times when they closed the department, when they sold the company, when they did this, when they did that. And the final straw was in 2012, right? When they laid me off right before my big surgery, my abdominal surgery. And then I had a breakup, and then I had a car accident. When I crawled out of the car accident, Spirit said, never go back. Well, I've never gone back. I've never gone back to a regular job since I got laid off October of 2012. Oh my God. It's 12 years. Maybe that's why I'm talking about it. Ooh. So it's the 12th anniversary. And it's been difficult at times. We can all say, well, go create what you dream of, go create what you want. No one really gets what it's like to be a creative entrepreneur unless they're actually really doing it or they saw a family member do it. And I could be honest with you, my family, my mom was already a journalist in Argentina. She had dropped out of pre-med because it's free school over there, right? She was not rich. My dad, I don't think had a high school degree, came here young, and my uncle didn't have one. They busted their booties doing factory work with my grandma, who was cleaning houses. And then eventually they got into the jewelry business, and then eventually created a very high end. I don't think they made anything for less than $50,000, right? Um, and they created this dream. They love the good life, they love glamour. They created this jewelry that they sold to, tons of rich folks who owned huge homes all over the country. And my father even went across. One of the things that I was noticed, I knew that my dad loved what he did, and it was his birthday. So he's a Libra, he was a Libra sun. I saw that my dad wasn't home a lot. So I rejected business. I was like, give me that check, give me that time when I go in, give me the time when I go out. And most of the time I didn't have a time when I went out. There were quite the number of jobs where I was a little abused or a lot abused, and then some business jobs where I was taken care of and loved. But for the most part, I noticed over time that even though I didn't want to do what my dad did, and did not want to have my own business, that I had all these talents. I worked for a startup. I did this, and I'd be like, look, this is what we need to do. I'd be like, you got to handle the PR. We got to do this. We got to do that. My brain was holistically looking at the startup or the company or the department. When I was at Telemundo as a program coordinator for Al Rojo Vivo, and I worked on the Latin Grammy Awards. No, the Latin Billboard Awards, the Billboard Awards, yes. And then got the job full time. I stared at the website back in the day, before we really had a digital media department. And I wrote down all these comments, and then I went to the VP and I was like, this is what I see. She's like, what do you want? And I'm like, send me to the digital media. So I worked as program coordinator, but then I was going to the digital media. So I've always had this holistic perspective, but I can also see details. That's why I'm a psychic medium. When I open the soul records, I see everything's coming at me, and then I see the details of the thing, right? My brain works that way. It's like seeing the holistic and then, and my brain somehow puts it in order. And so what I realized going through different jobs that I liked, that none of them completely satisfied me. Yeah, I could be a good project manager, and yeah, I could be a good leader, and yeah, I could be a good team player. But as time went on, I was like, well, I don't want to be like my dad, and I want to. But then the universe forced me out. And when the universe forced me out, my friend said to me, you know what, do what you do. And so I built my business, right? And the first things that I had already done a big webinar while I was still working full time. And by the way, like I think it was 2011 and I was still making like in the 80s, like mid to late 80s. So I was like, I like my check, right? So I could pay for my mastermind, go to Egypt, do my trips, do my things, live, pay my $2,000 rent back in the day in Queens. I mean, it wasn't even Manhattan. And I sat down and I really started to analyze what were the things that I really wanted on day to day. I wanted to feel like I was using my intuitive knowing. Yeah, I used it in jobs, but I didn't talk about it, right? It was like, well, I have this feeling where I think this. I wanted to use my energy healing. I wanted to use the hypnosis gifts. I wanted to teach the things that I had learned over decades of not just learning, but actual practice on human beings. And I wanted to be able to this I didn't want to consciously, but spirit's like you have to step into your authenticity. You have to step into your full power. You've had so many lifetimes where you haven't been able to really be who you are fully. So you need to step into this healer, this creative. And I was like, why can't we do it a regular job? Por favor, ¿por qué? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué tengo que crear un negocio? So next thing you know, right? I get laid off, surgery, this, that. I pressed the wrong button, so my unemployment's canceled. I have to go to Jamaica, but I'm too sick. And I wind up going to Miami. We have the car accident. I come back. I get the evil, well, it's not evil, but it was the scary phone call from my doctor that was like, please call me when you get back. My surgeon, who hadn't talked to me since October, she leaves me a message on January and then says to me, um, then as she's hanging up the phone, I hear we could go to jail for this, which I realize, I have had a problem, an infection, a MRSA infection for like 2.5 months. And my doctor overlooked it because the paperwork was there. And no, I couldn't have sued. I talked to lawyers, right? They said I had to die or lose a body part. And all those things happened to me. And so when I came out of that, I was homeless. And that's why I'm telling you my story, because I'm saying build the thing that if you want the thing, build the thing. But you could be like, well, Vanessa, it's easy for you. First of all, I've been on my own since 21. My parents did not get me an apartment. They did not buy me a car. They did not say, oh, dear, you want to go back to college and you have a full ride. Here's some money. They just simply did not have it. And they were too focused on the other kids who were living at home, right? So I'm not dissing them. This is what it is. And no one around me, and I didn't have family. It could be like, here, honey, we'll co-sign for you. This is just the life that has shaped me. And maybe that is how I am and why I am this way. That I was forced to be resilient, resourceful over and over and over again. And I'm not the only one. I have tons of friends who are like this, tons of people that I know that had to invent themselves or release everything that wasn't them to find out who they truly were. Right. And so in this situation that I became homeless and didn't live at home for 3 months, and I slept on people's couches. I built 2 classes. They were 4 weeks each. I sent them to all my clients. And I said, I'm only taking this amount of people. It is, $97. And it's going to go up to 150. And 20 people bought it. Right. And then I did part 2. And then Spirit whispered in my ear, urban priestess mastery. I used to be the urban priestess before I was the biz bruja. And I'm like, que, 3 retreats, 20 teachers, diverse, BIPOC, all the things. And I was so terrified. I took a chance. I bartered somebody to create a banner for me, and now I know how to do it. I bartered with somebody else to help me with the website, all of the stuff, and wound up making it. It was a very hard year. It was very scary. I finished that year hitting 6 figures. And that was 2013. And I never looked back. And so when I tell you and I invite you to take stock in yourselves and ask yourself, especially on this Crescent Moon in Sagittarius, the truth speaker, where have I been resilient? Where have I gotten too comfortable? Where am I aching or desiring or wanting something greater? But then I say to myself, let me be grateful for what I have. And mind you, you should be, and we should be grateful for what we have. There's so many people suffering on the planet. Of course, we should be happy. And also, if we could step more into our own light so we could shine our light brighter and help others, why not do that? Right? Because the dream that I had of having my own business online, which was really not my own business, my husband, very anti-capitalistic. I say, I'm not really a capitalist. I am a person who realized that society had not kept up. And in order for me to be happy and survive and do the things and thrive and do the things that I was born to do, that I needed to create something that really didn't exist online. That I needed to create the school, that I needed to do it in 2 languages, that I needed to create the podcasts. And I know there's tons of podcasts now, and I know there's tons of astrologers and readers. But when I started, there weren't. I was the only Latina doing this. Now, a lot of organizations or folks don't know that because I didn't go for media back then, but that is the truth. And so, and now there's people around my age who have been like, oh, I've been doing it, but they had other careers, like full careers. In 2012 and 2014, they've been doing it recently, which is great. Kudos to them. But I'm somebody who's been doing this all my life. And then in the last 12 years, full time, doing this only online, working with teens, doing the podcast, writing the articles, being interviewed, interviewing people, doing hypnosis, transformative, powerful hypnosis, Akashic records, and training people. None of that would have happened if I had not dared to rent this healing room in 2009, 2008, 2009, then leave to go back to the regular job because I needed a surgery, so I needed the health care, and then get laid off and decide I'm never going back. And so look at your life and say, where have I been resilient? Where have I been resourceful? Where have I now become comfortable? And sometimes we need to. If you're raising kids, maybe you need to be really super stable and not go and take crazy risks. And also, I do not recommend that people just leave their jobs and try to create stuff. I really recommend that you take stock. It's intuition, it's logic. We have to tend to the mental, to the physical, the emotional, the spiritual. It's not just one thing. Remember, universe is the one that got me laid off. I was crying like, pero por qué? Why don't you let me stay here till next year, till I'm fully healthy, and then I could go build my business, por favor. And they're like, nah, you got this. And I'm like, de verdad. De verdad. Okay. 6 figures my first year, struggles, living abroad, lived a little time in Costa Rica, Panama, spent some time in Miami, spent some time in LA. I am location free now. I was location free then. I'm just a little stuck now because I have 3 cats, 58 plants, and un marido, right? But if I hadn't taken that risk. And so ask yourselves, where have I taken risks? Because this beautiful solar eclipse and the eclipse season coming in to change our lives isn't going to really freaking change our lives unless we actually change what we're thinking and what we're doing. If you sit idly by and think, oh, the cycles are going to just do what they do, the solar and the lunar are going to come and smack me and change my life. I mean, maybe you may come home and your husband or wife might be like, mira, divorcio, wakata, or you may break your leg and have to stay at home and question your life and who you've been and what's going on. Or you may get a dire, health diagnosis, which we want none of these. Those could happen. But there's also millions of people that don't get any of that. Because spirit and guides are like, a ver lo que vas a hacer. Are you gonna do it on your own? Are you, because you've been listening, gonna be brave enough to plan for your most incredible vision to be truthful in a reality? And that could be anything. That could be starting an exercise program. That could be finally deciding to date again. That could be having that baby that you've always wanted, but now you're going to do it on your own because you're tired of waiting. That could be finally looking for a job. That could be going back to school, even though you think you're too old. That could be building a business upline. That could be leaving a partner that you're just unhappy with. None of these things happen overnight usually. There's a slow buildup in the subconscious, in the 12th house, in the 8th house of our zodiac, not zodiac, but natal chart. And so it's all happening. But if you think that you're going to sit around and be like, I don't know, okay, let life do it. I have met so many people who said they were going to let life do it. And I'm serious. 30 years later, ahí están, sentadas en la misma vereda. Vereda is street, right? It's like the street right there, the curb, literally, la vereda. And you can't just sit in la vereda and think that life is going to change. I mean, it might. Somebody might, crash into you. Or a little kitten may come up to you and now you're a cat mommy. But the thing is, for us to take inventory. Again, I'm going to repeat the question, which came to me now, it's where have I been resilient and resourceful? Where have I become too comfortable? Where do I hand over my power to the universe to be like, give me a smackdown? But sometimes the universe doesn't until it's too late. Because if you're meant to leave a job or a relationship and you get the smackdown at 65, you'll be like, oh crap, it's too late to start again, which it never really is. But, it's a different time to start. Starting at 40, at 55, 60, 80, they're all different times. Of course, when we are guided to start again, is in alignment with us when we are guided internally. To start again at 80, if you're feeling aligned, is the right time for you to start again. There's no right time or wrong. There's only the awareness of we know that this life is too small for us, that these jeans just don't fit, that the bra is too old and it's not supporting you properly, and you need to get a new one. Unless you're like, let me go teta libre, which is another story, right? Free booby. But when something no longer fits, when something was good but isn't right for you now, it's not an indication of failure. It's an indication you've grown. So congratulations. You have up-leveled. Spirit, life, the collective, the energies have invited you to now adapt to this new existence that is moving through you. The thing that we don't like to hear is, though, that new existences demand new energies, right? Or ask for new energies, meaning new loves, new changes, a workout, more water, a free diet, get off the smoking, don't drink so much, all the things. But we want to hold on to las cosas while we make the changes. And maybe we don't do it cold turkey, we do it slowly. But I encourage each and every one of you to ask yourselves those questions. I came to Harrisburg in Central PA because I fell in love with my husband. And I came here because I was location free and I'm like, well, I could work anywhere. And it was hard. I loved my salsa, samba, belly dance classes in New York. Don't have those here. There's some belly dance classes, but there's not the stuff that I'm used to, right? The diversity I'm used to. So I cried a little bit, missed what I had back in the day, then joined improv. People who really know me think that that's a natural fit for me, but it wasn't at first. I'm used to being the expert. I'm used to being a teacher. I'm used to being the hypnotist that works with people. I'm not used to, and I am used to letting go to let spirit move through me so I could read people, but I'm not used to releasing control, working in a group and seeing whatever happens outside of my circles. But I did it. I hung in there. It's 7 years. I love it. Now I'm hired to do improv for communication. And so had I not said, okay, being home sucks, I need to get out, let me do something, even if I don't love it, led me to discovering something that I loved. If we don't step our toe out of our home, we're never going to discover a new world. Maybe we'll discover it in our mind, but will we really live it? And so I kind of had given in a little bit after I tried that a lot of the Latinos over here are really scattered. I mean, I'm used to a very diverse sort of community and environment. Don't have it here, right? My husband's Turkish, so I have some Turkish people. But other than that, not a lot of Latinos. And so I spoke to somebody that I knew. She spoke to people. We wound up coming together to create this beautiful group here in Harrisburg and New Cumberland called Raíces Creativas, right? Creative Roots Collective. And we just worked for 2.5 months, no pay, meeting every week for 2 months. We got sponsorship, a couple of different sponsorships, and we created 8 events, right? We created really 6 and 2 were already part of somebody else, but we call it Latinx and we ran it. And, those are things that are dear and close to my heart. We're going to have a healing session on the 12th here in Harrisburg. We're going to have the first Latino improv group ever. I don't know about you, but I didn't grow up watching Latinos on SNL. And even now they're having Latino skits, but there's like 1 Latino, I think, or maybe 1 or 2, I'm not sure. I haven't watched it in a while. And I'm not saying that white SNL isn't great. White SNL with like one or two Black people isn't great. That's fabulous. Or one Asian American person. But we also need to know as Latinos that everything is for us. Improv is for us. The healing world is for us. Our own business is for us. Anything that exists is for us if we want it. And so I'm seeing the impact of the events that this group has made in the last couple of weeks. We're almost done. This weekend is the last. We have improv, we have the healing, and then we have a storytelling coffee event on Sunday, all here in Harrisburg. Actually, one in New Cumberland. If you want the info, let me know if you're here. But had I not reached out to the friend who then reached out to somebody, and if the other people hadn't tried to do it last year, if we all hadn't communicated with each other and decided we were in together, and then did the freaking work because it was consistency. I can say in this group, nobody is vago. Nobody is lazy. We do what we say we're going to do and we do it. And now it's possible that we're going to be doing Latino events throughout the year. That's what I wanted to see. There were some things, but there weren't the things that included creative entrepreneurs. And so out of this, I didn't see the Latino improv team. I created it, right? I didn't see the Latino type of gatherings that I wanted, so we created it. Some things you're going to be able to create on your own. Some things you're going to have to pull in like minds. But this Crescent Moon in Sagittarius is asking you to align with your biggest vision, to continue nurturing your dreams, and to not settle with, well, that's just the way it is. When I was younger, my mom shamed me for wanting to get therapy. And I knew as a teenager. Two of my best friends at the time started drinking and doing drugs and, not hard drugs, but they started doing things that were not good for them, cutting school. And all of it was because we all came from dysfunctional homes. They wound up dropping out of our high school, which was the High School of the Arts, that you have to show a portfolio and audition and draw in front of if you're going to do art or sing or dance in front of them. It's a pretty prestigious public school, okay? They wound up dropping out, broke my heart. I almost dropped out after them. And then I was like, mamita, you got to get your booty out of that casita by doing good in school, doing well in school. And you're talented. And so I stayed the course. So sometimes when we don't have what we need or we don't see what we need, we slide into what everybody else is doing. I invite you not to. I invite you to take that breath, to speak to your spirit, to call in your powerful intuition. That's what I did when I was a teenager. You know what I'm saying? Because I was like, oh my God, mis amigas, I have nobody. I mean, I knew people, but these were my close peeps, right? That traveled with me for an hour to the high school. And one of them was an art major and the other one was a vocal. And so close your eyes, call in your divine energy and power, call on your well and wise ancestors, call on that powerful strength that we all have within us, and ask para la energía, for the cleansing, for the clearing, for the clarity, to see and allow yourself to feel what is your biggest vision for yourself. Because sometimes we're like, well, if I can graduate and I can just get a job and I can do, and I get it, it's survival thinking. But this Sagittarius moon, this crescent Sagittarius moon, is saying, Mira, you got the fire, you've got the passion, you've got the soul. Ask us for help. We got your back. So allow yourself to dream, allow yourself to write things down. And the dreams that need collective support, like this Raíces Creativas collective, speak to people that you think could support you and help you. And just do the work. Do the work with the people who are in alignment. And stick to what is true for you. Because I had not taken a chance, it wouldn't be 12 years and thousands of people I've worked with. Retreats I've done that I'm so, so grateful for. The healings and the experiences and the way I've impacted people's lives. I could not have impacted people's lives being a program coordinator. Sorry. Not me. Maybe somebody else could have done it. Right? For me, for who I am. Some people do impact a million lives by being a program coordinator of healthcare. But for me, for the psychic medium, intuitive healer that I am, I needed what I have. And so check in with your soul. What does your soul need in order to thrive? Sending you so much love. sending you so much grace and reminding you of your sacred passion, because passion is also sacred and purely divine. Mucho amor.